Typically, right on time, sir. Maybe you forgot. Yeah, but she has to do fix but sometimes in the city, where it's not there, She's pretty tight down the time, unless she's got somebody who wants to correct me.
Yeah, you can do email, Let's call the meeting to order. This is the Bella Vista City Council meeting for August 26, 2024. First, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Snow, absent. Okay, Councilmember Hughes. Here. Wozniak.
Yes.
Wilms.
Yes.
Fowler.
Here.
Hanschel.
Here.
Mayor.
Thank you. First item of business is citizen input. People are limited to 3 minutes per person. Time limit to address the council on any topic of their choosing. Laura Gentry of 12 Mason Lane in Bella Vista.
Hello, my name is Laura Gentry and I live at 12 Mason Lane, 3 doors down from Cedar Lodge and 19 Mason Lane, which is also an STR. I would like to first say thank you to the City Council for addressing the weddings and events that were happening on our street and putting a stop to them, since they were against the city ordinance. I would also like to thank Doug Fowler, who listened to my concerns and has consistently called me back and created an STR ordinance that has since passed. That being said, a couple of more issues have come to light. Emerald Shores, which is 19 Mason Lane, is being promoted as a 6-bedroom home so that the owners can put 16 people in it. When the house was last for sale, it was being sold as a 3-bedroom home. I have documentation to prove that. How can a 3-bedroom home magically become a 6-bedroom home? Who is vetting these STRs? Our neighbor that lived in between Emerald Shores and Cedar Lodge was unable to sell his home to anyone once the buyers figured out that they would be living in between 2 STRs. He said that living between 2 STRs was isolating since he had no normal neighbors. So he ended up selling to the STR owners. We're assuming that this will also be turned into an STR, which means that we'll have 3 STRs in a row, housing around 50 people at the end of our street, which was already the most traveled cul-de-sac in Bella Vista is just going to get busier. In fact, 2 weeks ago, a full-size coach bus came down the street to drop off and pick up the STR renters. Our dream house that we bought on a quiet cul-de-sac now basically has a small hotel at the end of the street, which is also a zoning problem, or should be. Are we now allowed to run hotels in the middle of neighborhoods? We worry about the future value of our home with the developing situation. We also have concerns with the lack of enforcement. I have seen posts on Facebook and have talked to several residents who are having problems, and when they call the enforcement officer, they are either ignored or reprimanded for calling. What is the point of having regulations if you are not going to enforce them? Fayetteville created a paid position for just enforcement. The city used to have enforcement officers, but since the police have taken over, things have gone downhill. If the police don't want to enforce the regulations, the city needs to take back the position and do it themselves. Residents are angry that their quiet neighborhoods are being taken over by SDRs. One poor woman has 5 SDRs in her neighborhood. The restrictions need to be updated, and the density of SDRs needs to be addressed. In many cities, SDRs are actually being banned outright or are limited to rental for a minimum of 30 days, which mitigates the problem of code enforcement and reduces overall violation issues. That would solve all the weekend parties and constant traffic. No one who permanently lives in this community should have to deal with STRs on each side of them. This type of saturation will ruin our neighborhoods and destroy the feeling of community that we have enjoyed for so many years here in Bella Vista. Other permanent residents will be talking to you in the upcoming months with their concerns. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. It's now time for a council reply. Anyone from council would like to speak?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, so after we passed the ordinance and, of course, we went through some litigation and we reworked the ordinance, made it less restrictive or less requirements in order to operate. And that one, as we know, it held, and it's going to be in place from now forward. For a period of time after the second ordinance was passed, we know it held, I experienced really a quiet period. I didn't really get any phone calls, but I will say, now they have started again. And it seems to be just certain short-term rentals. I do know for a fact that there are so many responsible short-term rental owners that live in Bella Vista. They do not over-occupy their short-term rentals. They're very sensitive to the neighbors, and they want to keep their occupancy reasonable. And they want to keep it reasonable for 2 reasons. Number one, they don't want to have issues with the neighbors that live around their SDR. And secondarily, they don't want their own personal property that they do own renting out as a short-term rental overrun and abused itself. They want to maintain that property. And I know for a fact that there are short-term rental owners that actually are in support, not just of our second ordinance, but the first one as well. And the feedback was they felt like it leveled the playing field because, they're limiting theirs to 4 or 6 people per the number of bedrooms that they have, and they think that that's reasonable and that's where they should be. Where an example like this, where somebody may be taking advantage of situation and it's actually a 3-bedroom home, but they're advertising it for 6 and they're putting whatever, 12, 14, or maybe even 16 people in it. But anyway, short-term rental owners, there are some that say, yeah, this level the playing field for us if we could do that. So they were actually very supportive, and they didn't have really a lot of issues with the other requirements that were put in play with the first one that passed. So, I hear your concerns, and we're going to continue to address them, and hopefully, we can come to some resolution and quiet this issue down.
Larry?
Thank you, Ms. Gentry, for coming forward. I know we've talked over the last year or so several times on the phone about the issue, and knowing that and I understand that. I think one of the challenges probably has to do with the septic tank themselves being regulated and controlled by a state agency, and the city being another agency which deals with the building code, but I don't know that we enforce the sewage on-site disposal regulations. Do we, Mr. Tapp? Do we enforce the on-site regulations for wastewater? We don't. That's all inspected and permitted and everything by ADEQ through, or the Public Health Service, actually. So all we do is receive the notice that says it's certified for so many bedroom house on that facility, and you approve the plans. So it's a little difficult, and now what's happening is that even builders, we understand, are building 2-bedroom houses with offices and other things, and then advertising them in more bedrooms, which is a problem. I don't know legally. Attorney Kelly, whether we have any authority to challenge those, or
authority to challenge what exactly?
Selling a house for more bedrooms than the capacity of the septic system, advertising.
You don't have an ordinance in place that addresses any of that right now.
Would we need an ordinance specifically for that?
In order to have a rule, you gotta have a law, and I would say, yes, you would need to have an ordinance. If we're talking about regulating the real estate business, in other words, regulating how properties are listed versus how they exist, that, in other words, is it really a 3-bedroom sort of situation? Is that the sort of situation you're talking about, or are you talking about more of the septic size issue?
The septic as it relates to how the house is represented or presented.
Well, we have broad police power, which we could, I mean, as I sit here, I can't tell you that we absolutely couldn't. There are probably things we could do, given the right ordinance and the right justification for it.
So what you're telling us is that with the ordinance we currently have, we are unable to file as a violation of our code.
I don't know of anything that you've adopted to this point that would make what you've just discussed something that violates
We
city code.
need something more specific in relation to how it's represented on a sale.
It just depends on what sort of law you want to adopt.
Okay. Thank you.
Jim Wozniak.
When you notice the overload at these houses, have you called into the police station?
Yes.
Okay, did you get anybody come out to talk to you or talk to them and tell them the error of their ways?
They said that I have to call between the hours of midnight and 6 for the parking situation.
Yeah, I'm worried about,
And
you get only supposed to have 5 or 6 in this, the ordinance covers that. So if you're saying that, it's way over that number, and then you call and complain, well, that would be a violation of the ordinance, and if they're not taking care of you, then I can see why you'd be frustrated.
yeah, that's what's happening.
Okay.
So it would be a parking issue is what you're suggesting, Mr. West?
No, I'm looking at, they're only supposed to have so many people in the house, and they got 3 times as many. That's a violation of the ordinance. If she calls and said, this house is only supposed to have 3 bedrooms, and only supposed to have so many people, and all of a sudden we've overloaded that by the ordinance, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything. At least you go to the house and you say, hey folks, it's the error of your ways, you either end it, this is it, or we'll come back and, issue you a citation or a summons, whatever. But we don't seem to be doing anything. All we're talking up here is, well, we'll get onto it. Well, she's called and not gotten any satisfaction. Period. It's got nothing to do with septic, it's got nothing to do with parking. They violated the ordinance as we passed it. So many people per bed, legal bedroom.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you for that discussion. Next item is action on the minutes, approval of the minutes from July 22, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, second.
That was Mr. Fowler and Mr. Hansel. Roll call vote.
Council members Wilms,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Hanschel,
Yes.
Snow,
Yes.
Hughes. Yes. Wozniak.
Yes.
Motion carried, 6-0. We have several reports on the schedule for tonight. Before we get into those, I did want to mention the city put out a press release this afternoon about our cyber incident. And I'm just going to mention a couple things, or a few things that were in the press release. So city offices will reopen to the public on Tuesday. Throughout the incident, which started a week ago Sunday, so that would be the 18th, the police and fire and streets were able to continue to operate the entire time. They had some of the technological things they usually have weren't operating, but they were able to operate. The threat has been contained, and we shut down voluntarily, so shut the system down after a cyber threat was detected. It was not shut down by someone else. City Hall and CDS and the library worked from home during the entire time last week. And people have gotten fairly efficient at that because of COVID. They had a lot of practice working at home. There was not, I did want to mention a few things. We did not pay any ransomware. We do have cyber insurance with Arkansas Municipal League. There was no negative financial repercussions to the city. And I have to give a shout out to a couple people. Our IT department worked very hard. They basically worked 24/7 this entire time, up to now. Ever since the incident occurred, they'd take turns sleeping and working, and they had outside consultants helping them. And the other thing was that I found very gratifying, a number of cities sent us IT people to work with us. And I hope I don't leave anybody out. It was Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Springdale, and Benton, and Washington County. So that's without charge. And the effect that had was of making the recovery faster, because they're going through every computer one at a time. The great majority were not infected in any way, but it's very slow, laborious process, I guess I would say, to go through everything, and because you have to be so careful. And I was really gratified by the attitude of, which I've observed in the past in Northwest Arkansas, the attitude of the different cities, working together on things. A lot of times you'll see that kind of help with the fire departments and things like that. So it's great to see. So that's all I want to say about that. I knew people were interested in it. Now on the schedule, we have the monthly financial report, and this is for the period June 30, 2024. And I just want to mention a few things about it. The county sales tax was slightly down from the same period last year. This is year to date. You might want to go to page 3, Wanda, if you could. Shows the revenue. This was year to date through June 30. County sales tax was down, which is very unusual. Our recent experiences is normally up 8%, sometimes 10%. I also have noticed in the press that state revenues have been down, and the other local city revenues around us have been down recently. Point being that it appears as a change of some sort in the economy. I think the high interest rates have finally had an effect on things. The city of Bella Vista sales tax was up a little bit over 6%. So we're kind of an outlier. Of course, we're working off a smaller base than the county and other people. Our overall operating revenue was up 2.1% year to date. So it's up, but just a little bit. It's not up like we're used to. Our operating expenses are also up, but we are $525,000 below budget. That's through June 30. So we're trying to keep expenses down. Recent inflation readings, this is nationally, are below 3%. I think the economy is definitely cooling. And of course, we have that national news, the job creation from March 2023 to March 2024 was actually 881,000 jobs less than previously reported. It's like 68,000 jobs a month. That's a big correction. And the latest job report's weaker. So my conclusion is that we're going to have caution in regard to raises for 2025. We just started work on the budget now. And I feel like there'll be very little new hiring in 2025. Doug gave a little presentation last week, and it just makes you realize you have to really watch your expenses, and it appears, at least for the short term, we're watching it month by month, but for the short term at least, that change in the county sales tax is notable. So that's the financial report. Having said that, there's still plenty of things to be optimistic about. You know, we have a new bakery and coffee shop on the west side, Table Palm. If I can attempt French. Rosita's is opened up in the old American Legion, and BV65 is going to open up in early September. So we do have some good things going on. I feel like we are going to grow our city sales tax. So that's the total financial report. And the street department, Karen Hunt and Dan Downing have agreed to give a little department report. This is separate and apart from what they're presenting later on. The floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon. Most of you here already know me on the council and our peers, but for the residents of Bella Vista, my name is Karen Hunt. I have been with the city of Bella Vista for 12 years now. All 12 years have been with our street department. I've always had a passion for construction, and this was a natural move for me. I started off with an underground utility company, went to a hot mix asphalt paving company, and did some job site safety at our world famous Crystal Bridges Museum in Bentonville while it was under construction. While working for the city, I've obtained my associate's degree in accounting and an associate's in business management to back up my years of office experience and have some credentials on paper for you guys. I've been really blessed in this position to have a great person to help me in leadership, and that's Dan Downing, our assistant superintendent.
So I'm Dan Downing, assistant superintendent. Met with everybody up here. So the city knows I'm on my 23rd year of doing this. March will be 10 years with the city of Bella Vista. Prior to that, I did 14 years with Los Angeles County Public Works, 7 of which was with road department, and the other 7 was with flood control. So I've got a pretty good understanding of everything to do with working for municipalities and specifically street department.
So our street department, we started in 2012, and this department was developed by Mike Button, our first street superintendent. And at that time, his goal was really to establish a solid street department to move forward in the city. He was up for the challenge and began by securing equipment and personnel. I was lucky enough to get hired in as the first admin for the street department, so I was present for all the makings and happenings throughout the course of my 12 years here and 12 years at the Bella Vista Street Department. We started off really small in a FEMA trailer over on Pinion Drive, and we had a little setback in March of 2015 when our facility caught on fire. And we faced a second challenge, and we rose to the cause, and we reestablished ourselves with the land acquisition. Mike oversaw the building of our street facility next door. We got to move in there in 2016. So we've been there for 8 years now, and it's state-of-the-art. He thought of everything. He also established and oversaw the building of an east side salt and sand storage where we could store our materials to better respond to the residents. And I don't know exactly how much it holds, but it is a very large facility that allows us a rapid response over on the east side. We also have one here at our street department next door. 2 years ago, Mike decided he was going to retire. And in doing so, he went through several interviews and ultimately decided to recommend myself and Dan to take over leadership jointly. And since he's handed over the reins, in April of 2023, we were able to convert the old fire station number 3 into our west side salt and sand building, which allows us to respond rapid responses to our west side residents in the event of inclement weather. We also were able to oversee the wash bay project, which was a long time coming. The first mention was 7 years ago, and it's reached completion.
I am happy to say there has been usage from all city departments at the facility. It's been a positive response, and it is greatly appreciated by our mechanics who care deeply about our equipment and city assets. A few things that our street department is responsible for. We're called street department, but it is citywide maintenance. We do mowing and tree trimming, potholes, patching, drainage, it's gonna sound like a run-on, signs, snow removal, fleet maintenance. We have 3 mechanics. We do routine vehicle maintenance, heavy equipment repairs, fabrication. We manage the street permits, which would be like our utility cuts and road cuts for utilities, water, sewer, and sometimes contractors. We also oversee our resurfacing contracts, which are hot mix and slurry seal. So we do stay very busy at our department throughout the year. Dan and I have a vision for our street department moving forward with Bella Vista developing and growing as rapidly as it is. And with he and I in a partnership, we bring a lot of new perspectives and fresh ideas to the table. We discuss them amongst ourselves, but another resource we use is we have a street committee, which is comprised of a city council member, Wendy Hughes, thank you for joining, and our street department leadership and also residents of Bella Vista. Lately, we've been reviewing all of our prior procedures and policies and implementing any changes that we see might better fit this new direction that the city's going. We have actually addressed one, and we are doing a restructuring of our resurfacing program and the strategy on how we address the roads in Bella Vista. We also plan to expand on our mowing crew and develop a full-time tree crew eventually as we build our department out.
I'll take over here and kind of give you guys a rundown of where we're at year to date with things. First, I want everybody to notice we brought in the street map. And that little red arrow up there on there is where we're sitting tonight. So you can kind of get the scale of the city. Bella Vista is over 550 miles of streets, and what that equates to is over 2,700 individual streets. So it's a pretty well spread out city. Everybody likes to think of Bella Vista as this little community, but when it comes to taking care of her, she is big. Best way we manage that is we break the city down into 8 zones. We categorize it by east, central, and west, and then within those, they're broke down. We've got 8 different zones. That helps with scheduling our workload day to day. That helps with our snow removal, and that's kind of how we attack it. So, with that, our department staff is 28 positions. We've got Karen and myself in management. We have 1 office administrative assistant. We have 1 field operations tech that manages the permits, our safety program, oversees contractors, and then we have our 3 mechanics. So you take that off the 28, that leaves 21 positions for this entire workload. The way we have that broke down is 3 crews of 7, and then from there, when we get into the summer months, mowing, resurfacing, those get broke even smaller because other guys have to go do other things. So it's a pretty big task for these guys to take on. Year to date, we started this year with 245 streets receiving varying degree of freeze and thaw damage. We attacked those right away. We had to break off to take on our resurfacing program. We're starting to wrap that up, so we'll get back to those. Year to date, we have completed and closed over 700 citizen request work orders. Anything from tree trimming to potholes to line of sight issues. Basically any one of those things Karen listed that we take on. We have prepped 251 streets for this year's resurfacing. which includes subgrade repairs, level ups, dirt patching, drainage work, culvert replacements, street trimming, all these things that we need to take care of before the resurfacing is done to help prolong the work that's being done. The overlay contract has just wrapped up. We ended up with 53 streets that were paved with hot mix asphalt for a total of 15.6 miles. And of those, 23 of them were zipped with the zipper that actually allows us to reclaim those materials into the subgrade and reduce the amount of base materials needed. And because of that, we're estimating to have saved about $40,000. Waiting on those numbers to finalize and potentially add that in to get more roads paved. The slurry contract is expected to start the week of September 3rd, next week. We currently have 198 streets scheduled for a total of 31 miles. So with all those numbers being said, the overlay and slurry contract combined total is 46.6 miles of the 550 plus within the city. What that equates to is 8%. So that's how big the city is. That's why we're on this rapid rotation of checking streets every year and assessing each one, because the balance isn't fair to what needs to be done. In addition, we just hit with the severe weather event. We have a large task at hand to remove all the storm debris. At this point, I have physically driven and identified over 400 streets which require debris removal. So that's kind of where we're at. It's a busy life at the street department, but we take on the challenge. Karen and I specifically have a great passion for this. Never shy away from the challenges. And with that, I'd like to take a moment and recognize our department staff. I read you those numbers. It's not a lot for what we take on, and they show up every day, not afraid of what the day holds, and we get it done. Street department in a nutshell. Question?
I had a quick question. So you said our staff positions, there's 28 total staff members and 21 being like the worker crews that
Yeah,
work in that.
28 total, so you remove the support staff, and it's 21 provided. There's nobody out sick, there's nobody on vacation, there's...
How does that compare to the other cities around us who have way less streets to manage?
In comparisons that I've done with other cities, talking to other superintendents, they've got a fraction of the road mileage and pretty much the same amount of staff. So it's a big challenge, but we show up every day, take it on.
Have we ever been close to 40, what did you say, 46 miles? Have we ever been close to that historically in the past few years? I thought we were only getting a town, I don't even know, say only, I shouldn't say only, but like 10 or 15 miles resurface.
Well, not the slurry, I don't know if we've done that many, but we've got up there a few times around 40, I know.
The last couple of years, we've been kind of in that same ballpark of total mileage, but what has changed this year is we've gained actually almost 6 miles of actual asphalt paving versus just a resealant slurry. So we gained in our overall capital improvement to our roads.
Wendy?
And then I know you told me this at the beginning of the year, but how many tickets do we have last year of 2023? I know you really, it's an incredible number.
The citizens request,
Mm-hmm.
we ended the year with over 1,400.
Okay.
So thank you guys, and Mayor Flynn, thanks for taking the opportunity to showcase. So the streets department, and I just wanted to mention the IT as well, because these are two departments that don't get a lot of visibility, right? You just don't. And particularly the street department, well, actually our other departments can as well. But, you know, you don't get a lot of credit for what you do, but you get a lot of angst sometimes, right? Because whenever the phone rings, it's typically somebody that has an issue and it's been festering for a little while and they're a little upset. But you guys are fantastic about your list, and you know, I'm very close to you guys, right? And I have a high level of confidence in what you do. I mean, just like you said, you show up every day and you take it on, and I really commend you for that. So, yeah, it's great you guys could kind of show yourself today. That's awesome. But and then on the IT department, Mayor, I think one thing, you mentioned a lot of things, but one of the reasons we didn't really have the issues we could have had with the cyber attack is because of the protocols that were put in place by John and his sidekick. I apologize.
Sydney Reynolds.
Pardon me?
Sydney Reynolds.
Sydney.
Yeah.
But yeah, the protocols, if it was caught early on, or else it could have really gotten out of control and really shut us down, and we maybe would have been in a hostage situation. And I know you stated that you wouldn't pay the money if we didn't get there. But anyway, we didn't get all the way locked down, and it could have happened very easily. So, you know, those two guys, I want to really commend them as well, along with you. So it's great. It's great seeing you guys showcase a little bit and talk about what you do, because I said a lot of times it doesn't really get the notice that it should. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to make the presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Mayor,
Great.
I do have one question. I can't see the map, which is fine, but the 8 zones that you guys have identified for the city,
Yes.
is that published on the city website? Or, I mean, is this map on the city site? This
I'm
kind of
not sure if the map
this is a
itself is
2 or 3
on
part.
there. We have been using this tool for a very long time.
Okay,
When we first took over the street department, it was east and west from Highway 71,
Right.
and we quickly realized to be efficient, that was not going to be the strategy. So we did east, central, west, and that was still a big bite to chew. If you were on the east side, how do we categorize them? So we did take the map with mileage, try to get each zone plus or minus the same amount of mileage within there so that we can more rapidly respond to people, be more efficient with our time anytime we get requests. And snow removal, we assigned a big truck and a small truck to each zone, and they travel that whole zone, every single street.
well, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. If we have 8 zones, and if those are identified and
They're established, yes.
yeah. So I guess to my point is, if we have those zones, because typically, like if we get into a storm situation or like a debris situation, you know, like the ice storms or, you know, pickup and removal of trees like what we're in right now. First question I get asked is, well, when are they coming through my neighborhood? So I guess what I'm getting at is if we could publish, like, do you guys try to tackle a zone a week? I mean, I know it's going to depend on how
Right, we'll have to
much.
reprioritize as much as we can, like, for instance, during our snow removal, we have a medical priority list, and then we have to go mains first, then sides. In this storm that we just had, the thunderstorms on Friday, a week ago Friday on the 16th, it mainly hit the west side, and so we basically had to take all hands on deck
Right.
and move them all to the west
Well,
side.
what I was thinking was that if we can have like an announcement working in zone 4, you know, like it doesn't have to say like until 4 o'clock
Right, we
today.
can work on that with Cassie and pushing out some sort of notification.
But just, I mean, for people that actually follow the city website and, you know, and like Facebook people, you know, once word of mouth gets out that they're working in my zone today, I mean, if people are kind of aware of what zone they're in, or if they can see this map, and if we were to say, you don't have to give a timeline.
Right,
you know,
right.
the street
Usually,
departments.
out of those 3 crews of 7, one's assigned to west, one's assigned to central, one's assigned to east. So we're always working in all 3 zones as
Okay.
much as possible with that crew. Sometimes we have to break up the crews and it may be irregular for a little bit, but overall we have a crew per zone
Okay,
is our setup.
okay. Just a thought.
Oh, Larry,
I guess I'd like to thank you again for the quality job that you've done for us. I think we're honored to have two good leaders, two responsible leaders, and your staff as well. I guess to recognize them. I know over the last couple of years, the winter streets have been almost as good as what I've experienced in Wisconsin, and that was tremendous up there. But in getting out, getting people out and available from Bella Vista to go wherever they needed to go, this group has been phenomenal, I think, this past winter. Storm damage, I don't know that too many people were handicapped. I think, as Ms. Hunt explained, when I spoke with her about the cleanup process, she said they called everybody out, but even she couldn't get out of her driveway because of the tree down until it got removed. And many of them couldn't get to work because they were blocked off. So, but even then, they showed up as soon as possible and started the clearing process for us in all this.
Yes, we'll talk about that when the agenda item comes up. I got a little more to say on that as well.
So you're priming us for the next year.
Yes, the suspense is there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, the next one is Chief Sims, who's going to give us an update on the construction of Fire Station number 1 and City Hall and the fire offices.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Mayor, appreciate you asking me to come speak about it. I'll be pretty brief. I just got a few things to say about it. But I do want to take 1 minute to say it's nothing like being out in the middle of the night, working, trying to get things cleared, and you see the street department show up. So I do say thank you so much for the street department. I've seen them at work. They do an excellent job. They did an excellent job the other night. It's just a blessing to see them when they show up. They got all the stuff they need. They can help with all kinds of things. So Karen and Dan, thank you so much for that. I would like to say that. Can you believe it's been about a year? It's been a year since I was standing in front of council asking for money to do demo of the new two-story renovation project at the old former police station. We started that project, it was actually in August of 23, I come and asked for the demo, and it took about a month or so to get actually started with the project when I come to the council for guaranteed maximum price to renovate that two-story project for $2,659,000. Currently, right now, we spent $2 million on that project, and we're about finished with it. That project is about done. Currently, right now, current work being done on that project is cabinets are being installed with the countertops, and then along comes the plumbing fixtures, then the flooring, which I'm hoping all the countertops should be done hopefully this week with the plumbing started, the fixtures going into the plumbing, the bathrooms. There's a total of 6 bathrooms with 4 of them being bath and showers. So the plumbing, once they put the plumbing in, then they can start putting the floor in. Once they get the floor in, then we're basically on that downhill slide on actually moving into that project. And we're hoping to have that move-in date around the first part of October. Maybe sooner, but we're shooting for the first part of October to be actually moving the fire personnel from their current living conditions over to the new building with that, which will allow a little bit of time to get some stuff done before CDS moves into the old fire station, back part of the fire station portion of it. Currently, we have some parking spaces that have been done to accommodate that move. So that's one of the things we're looking at is how can we release some of the parking, because there is some issues with parking with construction and stuff going on, with parking in front of City Hall and out next in front of the fire department. So we actually had several of the spaces in the back completed, the concrete poured and so forth. So when the personnel move in on fire side, they can move straight into, they can just pull around there, do their switch out there, and also a little bit of room for Attorney Kelly back there and Mayor Flynn. We'll take care of y'all, just so you know. I was gonna say, I heard that request from you, so we're working on that, JK, just so you know. So we are looking at that, but like I said, we're looking at that first part of October, hopefully sooner, moving into that current space. So as of right now, it looks like we're remaining currently, because some of this price right here, the $2 million we spent so far, actually includes some of phase 2 as well, because of how we had to structure it out. So we're looking like we're going to be currently under budget for that particular first phase of the project. So right now, have you been down there lately? Have you looked? Have you drove by? Have you seen the construction going on? You see what's going on right now? The red iron, or actually the gray iron steel, right now is, as of today, is completed. And we're on track to have the floor, the second floor poured for the new 2-story building, have the second floor poured this week. The trusses should be arriving this week, I've been told. We're actually about 3 weeks ahead of schedule on that particular portion of the building. The red iron was supposed to take around a month, but they got it done in a little over a week. They brought in extra personnel to help get that project back on track. So with that, the roof, hopefully I've been told that hopefully by the second week of September, we should have a roof on that building. And then at the same time, exterior walls going up. And then by October 1st, around there, we should start putting the interior walls in the second story for the admin and fire admin, or city admin. Of course, exterior, once they start doing that, it should go pretty quick. So that's kind of where we're at right now currently. And then once that gets all going and that renovation and that new 2-story will kind of flow together, start coming together, because we'll be opening that space up between the 2 buildings. So that's where we're currently at with that project. So, are there any questions?
Chief, just out of curiosity, it's a nice skeleton that's out there for your new building. The skeleton is out there.
That's right.
Yeah, looks hardy, looks sturdy. But the question that I have is that you said about October sometime, they would have the old police station finished out so it can be occupied. Is that right?
That's what we're looking at. First of
So
all,
at that time, then you'll move your staff out of the quarters that you're using now adjacent to the fire truck storage.
so the fire personnel that use that as their night and day living will move over to the 2-story
So
renovation.
then what happens? Then is that portion where they're currently using as offices and staff quarters, will that be torn down and the administrative building go up next?
So right now, currently, what's going to happen is CDS and planning are going to move to the back part of the fire station. So they're going to occupy the back part of the fire station until we get the old city hall renovated.
So is there room for them to move over there?
There
Because I'm
is.
assuming that relates to our lease at the Village Center Plaza over here.
I think that's
Yeah,
correct.
correct, yeah. The lease ends
That
November
will
30.
expire, and so we're gonna have
Yeah.
to put them someplace, either in a tent or in trailers or.
So that's kind of, well, it all depends on, I guess that's up to the mayor when they move, but we should be hopefully out of that space and hopefully have some of that done before the mid-October, I would think.
So we have enough space over there to house the DPW staff, or not DPW, DPS.
Yeah.
Yeah, Planner Robertson put together a very nice plan on how that's going to lay out with engineering, the planning department, the permitting office. Actually, permitting office is going over to the front of City Hall, and they're going to operate from out of the front of City Hall with permitting, and then the rest of them are coming over with engineering, rest of CDS, the trail coordinator, and then all the planning is all coming over to that back part of the fire station. Thank you.
Chief, can I ask you something?
Yes, sir.
We've talked about it, and I think it might be of interest. The unending Arkansas Department of Transportation Highway 340 Bridge project that is affected, they're doing some stuff alongside of our property there. Could you talk about how that's going to fold in, what work we've had to do to coordinate with them on that entry and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, but there's a lot of work to be done there. What you're kind of seeing now, it's kind of misleading, and the perception is kind of like, hey, is that the way that's going to look right there? Had one of the city staff say, you realize you're only going to have like 24 foot of driveway? I'm like, no, it's not right. Well, what they're doing is in front of City Hall, coming off where the new bridge is, they're putting in a sidewalk. and part of the sidewalk's done, but right in front of the fire station, they're having to build that sidewalk. Part of it's built, which it has about a 1.5 foot, probably 2 foot drop off right there, that eventually is gonna have asphalt right there temporarily, so we can get our vehicles out. They'll move that driveway over, and then they'll finish the rest of that sidewalk. So we're gonna have about 45 to close to 50-foot driveway entrance, not that 24, 25, 30 we have right now. So it makes it very, very difficult to get it out of it. We've been working with the engineers of ESS with that project. Crafton and Toll actually is the one that's kind of overseeing that on our side, and then working with the ESS on trying to make that work to where we can get in and out. So, but it's a major ordeal. It's a major situation.
I think Wendy had some. Go ahead.
And so Chief, thank you for letting me tour it about a month and a half ago.
Yes, and thank you for
If you
coming.
haven't, council members, you need to go tour. I'm sure it's even more beautiful right now than it was. But thank you for taking the time to ensure that your crew and your staff had the space to the wind down space. Because it is incredibly hard work, and things that they see are hard, and things that they do are hard. And to have that space where they can just rest and relax and maybe get away mentally from those challenges.
That's kind of what we're thinking about, you know, because there is a lot of stuff that builds up on, if you're a police officer or firefighter, EMS work and things like that, they're very difficult, they're very stressful, and to have a place like that for them to go and just kind of, not only outside on the balcony, but inside there to relieve some frustration or whatever they need to, or just sit back and relax. It's very important nowadays.
Thank you for taking that into consideration. We sign that.
And thanks for coming up.
Absolutely.
Anybody wants to come up, come by and
I want to see it again.
stop on by and see me. Oh, it's changed since you've been
I'm
here.
so excited.
It's all changed, even the old stairwells. When you were there, the stairwells haven't been done yet. They're about done now, so.
Love it.
Greg?
I just had a quick question. As this project wraps up, I don't know if you talked about it as far as personnel. Is the personnel going to increase firemen or fire personnel staff?
So at that particular station?
Yeah.
No, that station, as of right now, that station will stay at seven personnel, like it is right now.
Okay, but
So-
personnel as a whole, how's the fire department doing? I know we've added salary for the police and then community development services, et cetera, and we've never scratched the surface on the fire department. I don't know, I was just curious.
Just like every department, the other fire department needs staff. I actually asked for staff in this year's budget. Just like everybody else, we had to take it out, we're gonna revisit it. I was told in April that we weren't gonna hire the firefighters I asked for, so. But I am gonna ask for more personnel in the 25 budget, but as the mayor says, so like we're not gonna hire, personnel too, so I don't know.
Okay, well.
But I'm just like everybody else, everybody needs staffing. We need staffing, our calls are up. I gotta make sure that I have personnel here in the city to make sure we're available for the next call, so. Just like every other.
Well, when you say the calls are up, I mean, are we statistically higher at this time of year, or is it ramping up? Obviously.
It's ramping up.
Okay, and it's
I
staying.
mean, it's staying.
Yeah, every year it's
So-
been increasing.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah, it's just.
Well, and that's what I mean, kind of
Yeah.
to the presentation that Doug gave us, as far as finances go for the city. And I just wanted to make sure you guys didn't get left out in the cold. I know that we're kind of.
Well, I I gotta do what I have to do, and
No, I
in
know.
those positions, I've gotta fill those positions. I can't leave, below minimum staffings, or we wouldn't have anybody going on the next call. So I have to make sure that I'm doing that the best way I can, and I'm telling you right now, I'm using overtime to do that, so.
Okay, all right.
Larry?
I think what we're talking about here is maybe a differential between additional new employee hires versus filling authorized positions. And what we're talking about is filling vacancies, I think is what you are.
Well, no, it's not necessarily filling vacancies.
You're looking for additional people
That's correct.
because of additional
That's right.
expansion.
And the mayor and I have had conversations about it.
And the reality will be is with the current softening of the economy, it's a little difficult to project in our experience. I think what we've seen in the sales tax income for 4 of our neighboring communities around here, including Fort Smith, I think is one of them. 3 around here, one at Fort Smith, is that they've seen a decline in their sales tax revenue city-wise. And so that has a caution out there, it's a caution light. And whether we see a slowdown in our need for workload or not by reduced building and other demands is one side of it, but the other side of it is that we'll probably see some slowing regardless which way the election goes, and we may end up running short with staff for a while.
Well, I'll do the best I can to make sure not only the citizens are safe,
You need to submit what your beliefs are, what you need. And,
but my personnel are safe.
yeah.
So,
I want to be clear too that as far as revenue versus payroll, operating, and benefits, we're in pretty good shape. It's the capital project overlay that we've got for the next, through 2027, it's like $24 million. It's just like your own budget, right? You got to make a decision, you know, what you want to spend it on. And you know what, the mayor and yourself and Chief Graves and Karen all make those decisions, right? And it could simply be maybe we shift some of our view or our spend, you know, away from some of the capital projects. Maybe they can go because we need headcount more. And so whenever I did my projection forward, it was all inclusive of everything, right, that's out there right now. Not saying that we have to spend it. And we've got some options as far as financing, right? The fire department, maybe pursuing, you know, extending the bond, going to the voters. So we have some options. It's just if everything stays status quo, we spend all of our capital expenditure, you know, capital budget, that's where we're kind of looking like, this could get a little close, you know, by the time we get into 2027. So
yeah,
it isn't like the city doesn't have any money. We do. We just got to decide how we want to spend it.
yeah, just keep in mind, we have 2 more phases.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are things we're going to be having to talk about with this budget cycle. And of course, we already got, where we look at the financing, we got to kind of set in stone going back 2 months, I think, of what we've already spent, that we can kind of recoup some of that money back that we borrowed. But we still have 2 phases. And those phases are going to be broken out in, I'd say, probably the next 1.5 years or 2 years. So with part of that phase, half of that phase of phase 3 is going to have to be, it's going to be in 25's budget, or 25 something, whatever we decide to do.
You know, what Larry was asking about hiring, that one thing I've been gratified about is when we have openings at police and fire, we've been getting good quality people. So
Yeah, it's been
a lot of people want to live here.
I was going to say, that's been a long time coming, that we started getting some good quality personnel. Right now, we have all positions hired.
Wow.
Now, we got one that hadn't started yet, but they're all hired on the department as of right now. So, but yeah, we've got some good, very good quality candidates that have come to work with all this stuff, which is good. Thanks.
And while we're on the subject of personnel, one thing I give Karen and Dan credit for that's under the radar for most people is the turnover on streets has gotten to be quite low. That not only that people are working hard, but they like it here and they stay. So that's a good thing.
Some of that has to do with management.
That's always good. They do an excellent job.
Yes.
Work hand in hand with them every day. Matter of fact, that map right there, we have one at our fire station, and we use it a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you so much for that summary. Appreciate
well,
it.
thanks for having me. Come by and see me.
So I had a couple of reports since we didn't have that much to pass, but we still have some stuff we have to talk about. So under new business, I have, well, first I need to entertain a motion to suspend the rules of order and procedure to allow all ordinances on the agenda to be read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
That was Mr. Wilms and Mr. Fowler. Roll call vote.
Council members Wozniak,
Yes.
Wilms,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Hanschel,
Yes.
Snow,
Yes.
and Hughes. Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. I'll read the new business. Waiving the requirement of formal competitive bidding and authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to enter into a contract for storm debris disposal services in an amount not to exceed $150,000 based on best price and availability and amending the 2024 city budget. Karen, could you give us a brief summary on it?
This request is in regards to the recent storm we previously discussed on August 16th. There were several trees down and power lines, and it primarily hit the west side of town, with some places in the central being affected as well. About 8:30 p.m., we received our first call at our street department, and we sent in 6 employees. And by 9 p.m., they called and said, rally the troops. And some employees, like Will said, had to cut their way out of their own homes to be able to come into work. Our primary focus at that point was just to cut pathways through, maybe not the whole road, but make sure people could get in and out. And they worked tirelessly on that until about 4 or 5 a.m. And we started feeling confident. We had tackled most of the block streets, but fatigue was setting in, and Fire Chief Sims volunteered that his crew can take the reins for a while and give our guys some much needed reprieve. The police department also participated in this. Their dispatch was overwhelmed as our phones were down. And they also had police personnel who picked up chainsaws to assist whenever needed and wherever needed throughout the city. I feel like this is a good example of all of our departments coming together just to serve our cities in the best capacity that we can. A shout out I would like to give is to Carol Electric, who was just coming off of dealing with tornadoes in Decatur and Bentonville and Rogers, and they showed up and they were dealing with power lines down here in Bella Vista as well. So this truly was a group effort. We've now reached the point where we're doing the cleanup we started today. And like Dan had said, we've identified over 400 streets that need cleanup. We are currently working to secure contracts, that's what this money is for a grinding service to dispose of the debris. We're asking for the waiver of competitive bidding so we can get this done sooner rather than later. The POA is offering us a place where we could stage that material until that contract is secured. I do know this 150,000 sounds like a lot when we're talking about budgets. That's just the cap. We're not expecting to reach that cap, but we wanted to secure the funding so that we could complete the task at hand. I think that's all I got on this one. I am recommending we move the item to third and final reading because it's an ordinance. Is there any questions? I think we're all pretty well informed about the storm.
I didn't, if I may, just real quick, I forgot to say thanks. You guys were, my street is totally blocked. And I don't know what time you guys came to my street, but it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, see a huge tree, and 5 o'clock in the morning it was gone. So excellent job, nothing but accolades for everybody in the street department, fire department, police, everybody. Everybody did so great. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and move to third and final.
So,
That was Mr. Fowler and Mr. Wilms. Roll call vote on the motion to move to third and final.
Councilmember Snow,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Wozniak,
Yes.
Wilms,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Hanschel,
yes.
Motion carried 6-0. I'll read it for third and final. Waiving the requirement of formal competitive bidding and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a contract for storm debris removal, storm debris disposal services in an amount not to exceed $150,000 based on best price availability and amending the 2024 city budget.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Who is Mr. Wozniak and Mr. Hansel? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Hughes,
Yes.
Wozniak,
Yes.
Wilms,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Hanschel,
Yes.
and Snow.
Yes. Motion carried 6-0. Thank you for that. I'll read the announcements. Next city council work session, 5:30 PM, Monday, September 16, at Bella Vista Police Training Room. Next city council regular meeting, 6 PM, Monday, September 23, at Bella Vista District Court. Planning Commission work session, 4:30 PM, Thursday, August 29, 2024, at Bella Vista District Court. Planning Commission regular meeting, 4:30 PM, Monday, September 9, 2024, at Bella Vista District Court. Board of Construction Appeals, 3 PM, Tuesday, September 10, if necessary, at Fire Station Number 4, Conference Room, 1639 Forest Hills Boulevard. So, if there's not anything else, Craig Honto.
May I ask one thing? Kind of looking through the agenda, I mean, we hear from every department kind of throughout the city, except the library. I don't know if they have much to add, but could we kind of get them in a rotation to where they just seem to be forgotten?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we heard from them every quarter, every other month, kind of keep them relevant and not forgotten. I would be curious to see what's going on at the library.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a presentation
Okay.
at the library. That's a good idea.
It's just like an umpire in a ballgame. If you don't know he's there, he's doing a good job.
I know.
Well, I didn't say they couldn't come, but that's why you're not hearing from them, because they're doing a bang-up job.
Oh, yeah, they do it.
They've been busy.
Yeah. Okay. If there's nothing else, then we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank